My next guest says the losses among those financials could cause the yen carry trade to unwind further. He's Todd Crosland, CEO of Interbank FX, and we welcome him to Market Pulse today. Todd, thanks.
Thank you.
Let me get your sense about this movement for the dollar, because there seems to still be the pessimism that the dollar will continue to decline. Is it your sense as well that's going to happen? And is it because people are anticipating the Fed's going to cut again?
Well, there's a couple of issues playing against the dollar right now. One is the financial turmoil with the markets right now, with the credit crisis, and then also there's the impression that the European Union, the Bank of England, that they may have pressure to raise rates in the future, and the interest rate differential between the European Union and the Bank of England will put pressure on the dollar in the future.
Is there a thought, though, that when the European Union looks at the dollar falling so much, they'll do something to possibly stop that in some way?
Well, even though they've had inflationary pressures there, their back is against the wall. So their hands are tied a little bit as far as whether they can raise rates at this time or not, because that will further hurt their exports.
Let's talk a little bit as well about some of the other currencies. Obviously, people are finding value in other currencies if the dollar is falling so much. So where?
Well, it would be, in the higher yielding currencies. There's the interest rate differential between what the Fed funds rate is in the U.S., which is really one of the lowest of all the G7 nations. And so people are looking at higher interest rate denominated currencies to have a higher yield on their positions.
Now, Todd, if the Fed doesn't cut rates at the next meeting, which if that's the anticipation, then where does that leave the dollar, you think?
That would support the dollar, because that interest rate differential wouldn't continue to increase against the world currencies.
Let's also talk about some other comments. The former Fed chairman, Alan Greenspan, was saying essentially that the dollar is unlikely to weaken further against the euro. He was quoted as saying that the euro-dollar adjustment is already finished. Is it?
We're at an all-time high as we speak. I think it's 145 and 58 is the all-time high, and we're right there as we speak. So he might be figuratively speaking, but it appears that there's no resistance or support for the dollar at these levels.
Let me see what else you may be impacting the dollar's move. Obviously, we talk about interest rates, but we're also looking at a global economy. We talked about gold and energy. How is, if any, of that playing into what you're seeing in the currency markets in general?
Well, a lot of it we've seen when there's been instability in the financial markets. Particularly, we saw that with the Shanghai correction in late February, early March. That particularly affected the yen crosses and the carry trade. And so when we've had financial turmoil in the world markets, people have become more risk averse, and they've unwound their carry trade positions. We saw when the market stabilized, earlier in October, and the Dow was approaching 14,000 again, people were going back into those carry trade positions. And so I think the issue is now, as there's still more uncertainty in the financial markets, that will affect particularly the carry trade, where people are looking for less risk and more stability.
All right, we leave it there. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time today. And again, Todd Crosland, CEO of Interbank FX.